And some other girl is gonna reap the rewards of my hard work?
There's this common, really unfortunate idea of investing in potential. Women often are expected to take on the bulk of the emotional and domestic labor in a relationship. A good woman is someone who supports her man unconditionally.
I completely understand.
And is willing to make the relationship work even in the face of neglect and abuse.
I want us to make it. I want a fresh start.
Because she's able to see something in him most people can't, his untapped potential. She's clinging onto the relationship out of a hope that he will one day be the man she needs him to be, and all her hard work and investment will eventually be rewarded. Unfortunately, in all of these cases, the woman's hard work and investment is not rewarded. Instead, these men that they've spent years pouring into move on to a new relationship where they blossom and become the best versions of themselves, leaving their ex-partners disgruntled that another woman will reap the benefits of their labor.
What am I doing wrong, Brian?
That another woman will get the version of the man that they've spent years investing in.
I feel like she's reaping all the benefits of his time with me.
In today's video, we're going to explore the trappings of investing in potential and how that dynamic often leaves women dissatisfied and hurt. Often we begin with these women already being in long-term relationships with unimpressive men. While the women may be experiencing unhappiness in the relationship, they are still not at a breaking point where they are willing to step away from the dynamic, because they still see potential in their partners and love them. When we meet Issa, she is dissatisfied with where her life is, especially in her romantic relationship with her long-term boyfriend, Lawrence.
I'm thinking about ending things with Lawrence.
I'm sorry, what was that? Did you not just see me crying tears of singleness in there?
We learn that he's been unemployed for years, has been feeling wayward and unmotivated, and hasn't been very involved or intimate in the relationship. Meaning that for years, Issa has taken all the financial, domestic, and emotional labor of their relationship.
What do you think? Like, there's no excitement. He's too comfortable. No, seriously, I'm starting to resent him. Like, I spent my entire 20s with a dude that I'm not even going to end up with.
She's gotten to a point where she begins to resent Lawrence despite loving him and really wanting the relationship to work. So she feels trapped because she's not necessarily ready to break up with him, nor is she fulfilled in their current dynamic. It wasn't as if Lawrence didn't have any redeeming qualities or potential. He was very attractive, caring, and considerate, and he had big aspirations to start his own app. But he was so paralyzed by depression that it put a strain on their relationship that Issa had to bear the brunt of. Anne and Andy on paper always seemed like an odd couple. Andy, for the most part, was a man-child. When we met him, he was unemployed, lazy, and injured after falling into a pit. Anne, being a nurse, catered to him and his well-being for weeks on end. Andy enjoyed not having to work and be pampered by Anne, even though it obviously represented a huge strain in their relationship. Anne was willing to take on the extra labor of supporting Andy out of love and dedication to him and their relationship. In the office, when we're introduced to Pam, she is in an equally unfulfilling relationship with her long-term boyfriend, Roy. Roy undermines Pam and her interests. He often discourages her from following her pursuits to keep her locked in servitude to him. We learn that they've been engaged for years with no seeming end in sight.
He's my fiance. We've been engaged about 3 years, and we were supposed to get married in September, but I think we're gonna get married in the spring.
Anytime Pam gets to a point of maybe being ready to leave the relationship, Roy does a half-hearted romantic gesture to keep her invested in the relationship, for probably longer than it actually served her. That's the push and pull of their dynamic. She understands that he has the capacity to be caring. It gives her hope to keep the relationship going, even though he's also very neglectful of her feelings and very temperamental. She sees the potential of a loving, caring boyfriend she could have and clings to that. On the flip side, when we're introduced to Rachel, she's already made the decision to finally end her relationship with Barry, having run out on him on their wedding day. Rachel didn't love him, and marrying him would be more about maintaining her lavish lifestyle. The fear of being trapped in a loveless marriage to a man who didn't really value her or loved her made her feel so oppressed that she panicked and ran away. It isn't until later on we learn about the dynamic of their relationship and how uncompromising and hateful Barry was to Rachel.
See, about a month ago, I wanted to hurt you. More more than I've ever wanted to hurt anyone in my life. And I'm an orthodontist.
In these dynamics, there always comes the breaking point. The point in which the woman, after taking all she could, finally makes the decision to end the relationship for good, finally realizing that she deserves more. In Insecure, after forgetting Issa's birthday, Issa avoids Lawrence and they have a fight. Still not fully sure if she actually wants to break up with him, she seeks out the intimacy she felt she was denied in her relationship while also focusing on correcting a problem with work. The realization that Issa was unhappy and even willing to break up with him was kind of a wake-up call for Lawrence. He tried to salvage the relationship by working on getting a job and being more present with Issa. In a way, though, it was a little too late as Issa develops a relationship with another man and eventually cheats on Lawrence. Now, I'm in no way defending cheating. Issa cheating on Lawrence was definitely wrong, but that came on the heels of Issa supporting Lawrence for years after he had stopped putting any effort into the relationship. Eventually, Lawrence learns about the cheating, and that leads to him and Issa breaking up. For Anne and Andy, the breaking point happened when Anne learned that Andy had been faking his injuries to avoid having to work and to keep Anne subservient and pampering him. That betrayal made Anne realize how much Andy had taken her for granted and how much labor, both physically and emotionally, she had been exerting in trying to care for someone who was so willing to take advantage of her.
He had his cast removed 2 weeks ago. The muscles wouldn't atrophied so much.
I'm sorry, 2 weeks ago?
It's when they were scheduled to come off.
But he told me that you told him he should wait.
She finally decided to leave Andy to fend for himself and ended the relationship.
Truth?
Yes.
Could I have gotten my cast off 2 weeks ago? Technically, yes. But I really, really like it when you serve me food.
Get out. Get out of my house.
In the office, Pam's friendship and attraction to Jim always represented a threat to her relationship with Roy. In a lot of ways, Jim represented the exact partner she wished Roy could be. He was considerate of her feelings, often encouraged her to follow her goals, and unwaveringly supportive.
You gotta take a chance on something sometime, Pam. I mean, do you want to be a receptionist here, always?
As Pam and Jim became closer, culminating in them sharing a kiss, she began to doubt the serious longevity of her relationship with Roy. She started to want more for herself and more from him. When she expressed as much, Roy's anger, of course, exploded, and Pam finally made the decision to end the relationship. After the breakup, there is usually a period where the couple moves on. They may fall in love and enter into new relationships with other people, where it is then revealed that the once ineffective, lazy, emotionally distant man was able to enter a relationship and completely change. Now he's passionate, gainfully employed, and determined, the exact kind of partner the women wished they could be when they were still together. But for these new partners that these men have found, they are willing to make a lot of change. They were willing to do a complete overhaul and tap into the potential that was always there. For Issa and Lawrence, their relationship ended tumultuously. Issa had cheated, and Lawrence was struggling to find it within himself to forgive her. He had moved on and started dating different women, while Issa attempted and failed to make amends. Part of Issa's frustration was that Lawrence was in a much better place in his life now that they had broken up. He had a good job and eventually got his own place. She became resentful that another woman was going to be able to reap the benefits of her years of labor. All the time and energy she had invested in him, another woman was going to be able to get the best parts of him. That idea of unrealized investment in potential, that all those years of emotional labor would go to waste, was very difficult for her to reconcile with.
I got the nigga with potential. You know, I got the work in progress. And it took a lot of support and patience, and I feel like she's reaping all the benefits of his time with me.
Anne had a similar realization after her breakup with Andy. Andy went on to get a job and eventually date and marry April. That relationship brought out a different side to Andy than Anne had ever seen. He was more thoughtful and considerate. April pushed him in ways that made him mature a lot over a short period of time. There was a kind of mourning of the relationship that she could have had with Andy that Anne had to experience. That while also being jealous, that Andy was able to rise to the occasion in another relationship, but couldn't do the same when he was still with her. Again, we see the recurring theme of another woman reaping the benefits of all her years of labor.
Loved him. Loved Andy. He was a totally helpless baby when we met. I dated him for 3 years. Now he's an adult with a job. And some other girl is gonna reap the rewards of my hard work? That's bullshit.
For Pam, she experienced the loss of potential differently. At this point, she's already in a long-term relationship with Jim, and we learn that Roy is getting married and he's invited Pam. Pam expected Roy to be the same aggressive, inconsiderate person she broke up with, but to her surprise, he's completely changed. He has a calmer disposition, is a lot more sophisticated than he was when they were together, and overall seems like a very good guy. This came as a great shock to both Pam and Jim. To see that Roy was able to undergo such a huge transformation reinforced the idea that the potential was always within him, but it required a different person to bring it out. Finally, Rachel was expecting her first meeting with Barry since their breakup to be different. She had assumed he would be heartbroken and hurt by her decision to leave him. Instead, she's shocked to find out that not only is he not heartbroken, he has thrived since their breakup.
You got plugs.
Careful, they haven't quite taken yet.
And you got lenses. But you hate sticking your finger in your eye.
Not for her.
She notices that he was willing to change and do the things that she's always wanted him to do after falling in love with her ex-best friend and maid of honor, Mindy. He simply was unwilling to change for her. I think underlying this idea of wasted potential and another woman reaping the benefits of your labor is an anxiety that a lot of people experience because it is often reflected in real life, of women supporting their partners through their passions and difficult times only to be unceremoniously replaced by another once they reach a certain level of success. The trap of only investing in potential is that you do have to be okay with that potential never being realized. These women stayed in unloving, unfulfilling relationships, clinging to the promise or the hope that their partners would change, that if they just kept showing up, just kept working harder, it would eventually inspire their partners to show up for them in the way that they needed. But as sad as some of these stories are, I think it is also inspiring to the idea that you don't have to stay in an uncomfortable situation, that there are people out there who are willing to meet your expectations and give you what you want. And you don't have to take on all the burdens of a relationship in the hope that something will be different later on. All of these women would eventually go on to enter into new relationships where they felt loved and valued and were able to find partners that met their expectations. So don't invest in potential, invest in something more.